integrating, competing, and working
This
in
meeting
the workplace.
is being recorded.
I should be talking about those things because that is where the future of learning is going. Integrating learning systems, self-directed learning, self-directed knowledge acquisition, rather than teaching broad things, because things are getting more and more specific and more relatable. All right. Now let me talk about human resources, because somebody wanted to know what human resources are all about. It pertains to employees, basically, who must be managed for the organization to attain its strategic goals and objectives. That's human resource management. So people, managing them. And managing people has to do with planning, organizing, controlling, guiding. That's what the management principles are. It concerns employees who contribute in various ways to the attainment of the organization's mission, the vision, the reason why they exist, and the mission and what they exist to do. Human resources also sees employees not as economic input or wage labor, but the most valuable resource of the organization. Now, this statement has been used over and over that sometimes it has lost its value. But arguably, and I agree as a human resource practitioner, that the human resources, the human beings, the people are still the most valuable assets in every organization. Why do I say this? Let's say an organization is raised down by fire, or an organization goes into bankruptcy, or the organization has committed some compliance challenges and have been asked to fold down or fold up. The people in that organization can start another organization. And when you have systems, processes, procedures, it is people who will flout those systems, policies, and procedures. So it makes sense when we say that human resources are the most valuable assets of the organization. Human resources also regards people as resources to be invested in, and they have strategic importance in supporting the creation of a competitive advantage for the organization. Let me pause that and elaborate that. See, when you have people in your organization that you do not invest in them, i.e., you don't train them, you don't expose them, you don't encourage them, and you only use them, it's just a matter of time. They will find other opportunities, they will move away, and your organization will go down. On the flip side, however, if you treat them well, like a statement I heard says that hire people, train them very well, train them so well that they will want to go to another place. Train them, both technically, professionally, personally, train them, give them training, let them go for training. So you are training them well. But then the other flip side of the coin is treat them so well that they rather not go away. So hire them, train them very, very well, skill them up, that they are the envy of your competitors, but treat them so well that they rather stay with you than go work for the competition. Another statement I heard growing up in HR is that two group of managers, one manager said, no, I will not train these people because if I train them, they will leave. They'll go to another company, they will leave. I will not train them. And then another person then said, well, my philosophy is different. What if we don't train these people and they don't leave? What happens to us? So my response is, it is rather more dangerous not training people for fear that they will leave, and the people not leaving because they have nowhere to go, than training them, like I've initially said, so well that they can go, but treating them so good that they choose to stay with you. It is achievable. In certain organizations, people hardly move. The attrition is very, very low. Whereas in other organizations, it's really, really high. The choice is up to us. And let me also add that people by themselves will also move, regardless of how well you treat them. Just always be ready and make sure that everybody is also training so that when they move and you hire again, you're not hiring from ground zero, but hiring people who have already been trained by other people. And you can ask me and I'll answer, why do people leave? People leave for various reasons. Sometimes their goals change. Sometimes their life situations have changed. And sometimes they are just seeking different things. And people change and people move. All right. Well, human resource management is talking about this operational and strategic management of activities in the human resource organization. So every organization has got human resources. The MD is a human resource, as in the person, but the function falls in a department called HR. Now we say that the effective and efficient management of human resource of the organization leads ultimately to the attainment of objectives of the organization. You look at what we call internal fit between the policies and the strategy. There are all said that. When you look at the human resource policies, and there are so many policies. One of the basic ones is what organizational policy, your hiring policy, your terminating policy, your conditions of service, your appointment letters, job descriptions. These are the technical stuff that we do in HR. But we must make sure that it fits the person, the human being. Human resource management also involves the proactive acquisition, retention, and development of resources necessary for the organization's success. So you must be proactive and do what we call manpower planning. Manpower planning is the futuristic look about the organization. Our organization is going to grow to 450 workforce next year. Where will I get them from? How will I attract them? Those that I already have in the system, how do I keep them? The level of aging, who are going to retire in the next 2-3 years? What is my succession plan? These are the technical things that human resource people do. Someone is just coming from the university, someone coming from the Yali program, very good, very sharp, very young, very talented, very energetic. How many of them do we want to get into the organization so that in the next 3, 4, 5 years, they can be moved to senior management positions? These are some of the technical things that we talk about in human resource management. And then I earlier on mentioned the term personnel management. We have moved as a body of knowledge and practice to strategic organizational management and not just personnel, managing the personnel, managing their time at work, their labor, welfare issues. No, we've moved from that. Those were in the industrial age where people were factory workers and they were doing the normal 8 to 5 and all of that. In the 21st century, we've moved strategically to knowing the mobility and the fluidity of human beings. People are fluid when they move because of better conditions of service, because of better economic status, and because people just generally want a better lifestyle for themselves. So they move. Okay, wonderful. What are some of the importance of the human resource management? The importance is that a great deal of emphasis leads to the success of the organization. So it is worth devoting time, money, and effort to managing the human resource results in a competitive, it results in a competitive advantage. It helps you, it's like the soccer team, for example. You realize that if you hire certain players in your soccer team, there is competitive advantage. In the same with the human resource. And those people that the soccer teams hire, the players, they are human resources. So in the same organization, the same with organizational life, if you hire great, talented people and you treat them well, you are very likely to have them performing much, much better in your organization. All right. So what are the concerns for us? We're concerned about how do we attract good applicants. And this day and age, there are so many avenues for doing this. LinkedIn, the internet, online, portals, organizational websites. These are all portals for obtaining applicants. You can talk about job fairs and recruitment companies and all of you. And then you talk about retaining desirable employees. Now, the word desirable qualifies the retention. You want to retain those employees that align emotionally and mentally to the future of the organization. You don't want to have an employee who does not believe in the objectives of the organization, but they're just there because the money is good. You want to retain employees that have desirable character traits. They are trainable, they are loyal, they are committed, they accept their mistakes, they don't hide things, they are not fraudulent, they don't oppose anything that they don't like, they are motivated, and they are willing to develop other people that come into the organization. Those are the kind of people you want, and it's done through human resource management. Retaining, developing employees to achieve organizational goals as well as individual objectives. Now, it is said that employees generally tend to stay with organizations that are concerned about their future. Many years ago in Ghana, there were people that worked in one organization from the time they finished school to the time they retired. Today, it is a thing of the past. The average young person would have changed at least 10 jobs before their retirement. And for some, it's more. So that is the importance of the human resource management. On your screen now is the human resource management process. And it's in 3 layers. So starting from the very top here, there's what we call the human resource planning, and this takes care of the recruitment and the selection of people to identify and to select competent employees. Competent employees are the people that have the qualities that you need to sustain the organization. So there is recruitment or decruitment. Decruitment has to do with downsizing. So whilst you are in recruitment, you are bringing in decruitment, you are letting go. And then when you have found these people that you have identified, you bring them through an orientation program. An orientation program is where you introduce the newly hired or selected employees to the objectives, mission, and vision of the organization. Okay? That's what you do. And then you provide the employees with up-to-date skills and knowledge. So through orientation and training, you provide employees with skills and knowledge. And then you manage the performance. You compensate them with benefits and opportunities. You look at their career development, and then you go into what? Retaining competent and high-performing employees. So at the first level of the human resource process, you identify and select, you provide them with skills, and then you retain. So identify and select them, provide them with training and the skill they need, and then retain those competent and high-performing employees. Now, the high-performing employees are also sometimes very difficult to retain. So they keep on moving organizations to keep improving their processes and procedures. Any questions so far? Is there a question? I want to find out. Can I proceed, please?
Carry on, please.
Fantastic. Bridget, your hand is up. Please go ahead.
Yeah, Papa Ray, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Bridget.
Yeah, it's nice having you today, but what I have is all that you are saying. I don't say it in the public service scheme, like especially in Ghana. I'm in Ghana, so like in Ghana here, we mostly see that when the political party wins power, everything changes, even including the human resources department that we have. And it makes our public services not being effective because a political party comes and they just lay aside or make employees redundant and bring people who are not even qualified And we hear, even in Ghana here, that sometimes the closer, they come always telling government to downsize. And you will see that people who are even qualified will be laid down, and then party people will be made PAs and so many things. So I mean, whatever you are saying, in my head, I'm like, it can only happen in the private sector, but not in government, in public sector, because in Ghana, this is not possible. And we keep losing human resources. That's why people, even the youth, they just don't believe in the country. They want to leave because nothing works. And nobody, even the HR manager doesn't care about its employees. It's about themselves, their party, and that's all.
Wonderful. So thank you so much for sharing. So Bridget, if you were to propose a solution, no matter how utopian it may look, what will you suggest? Should we lift our hands in despair? What will you suggest?
Okay, what I would suggest is that we should take most powers from the president. The appointing, like he appoints so much like authorities in the CEOs and the directors, and these are the reasons why these things happen in public service. So most of the powers the president have, we should take it away from him. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much. And I love that. Thank you. We'll live to see the day when we'll have another review of the powers of the president, and how many of us will join the call from Bridget to say, you know what, can we reduce the powers of the president so that at least people that are being appointed can have a screening process that will attest to the fact that they have competence. Thank you very much. And I agree with you to a very large extent. That notwithstanding, we shouldn't also lift our hands in despair. Remember that it takes courage to change a system. And it takes a critical mass of people to start a campaign and to start saying that, look, we can do better than we are doing. So, for example, without anything having an original, you cannot find a fake. So when you find a fake of anything, it means there's an original. And we know that, like I say, the youth are losing hope in the country and all of that. It's because they are moving to places that appear to have some sense of stability, correctitude, and right. And they are willing to obey by the rules of engagement. It's rather unfortunate that we preach virtue, but rather practice vice. Now, if we move beyond the public sector to any employment for that matter, these are the same individuals who will go into these organizations, and if their mindset is not tuned to the right thing that should happen, they'll go and perpetuate all manner of fraud. And so the reason Yali is bringing us on board and bringing these things to our attention is that this is what it must be. But currently, this is what it is not. And so when you, as a Yali trainee, get the opportunity to speak truth to power or to do things differently, please do not go and continue the status quo. Go and make a difference. You may be a lone voice, but you are still a voice regardless. So I believe that, yes, the system will take time, but a generation of young Africans will come that will bring us back on track and say the public service and the public sector can do better than this. Thank you very much, Bridget. Now let me hear from Dr. Michelle.
Yes, sir. I want to come in the same direction of ideas with Bridget, saying that she should not think that this problem that she's like putting out is only seen on public sectors. Even on private sectors, there are even worse out there, where most of the human resources will go out of an organization due to the fact of the manager, not even the manager, the human resources on itself. So that service is very crucial in any organization.
Wonderful.
Very crucial. If you have a very good human resource manager, just know that your company is safe. But if you have somebody who does not merit it, most of the time in our private sectors, it might be either a relative of the top management and so on and so forth. So they will just go and bring their familiarity and fit into that post. And then from there, that's how we'll be going from failure upon failure.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. And I agree with you. And that is why it is unfortunate that many organizations come into our continent, they set up, but there's institutional failure because there is systemic failure. And that failure is coming from the fact that people have not been exposed to best practices. People observe what they see, and over time, wrong is made to look like it's okay. You rub my back, I rub your back, we just keep going. Now, anytime I think about the way the continent is going, young people like you or people in Yali give me a lot of hope. Why do I say this? We need to keep preaching and keep telling people that this system must change. If we all believe that it is useless, it is not going to change, why bother? I'm telling you, it's not going. That's why I'm happy what Bridget said. We can begin to take back some of the laws and the institutions and also believe in the rule of law. It's rather unfortunate that, let's go back even to academic institutions where people are trained. And sometimes people don't even pass their exams. Fraud starts from there. They get marks that they didn't deserve. They graduate with classes, first class, second class, whatever, that they didn't deserve. They didn't work. They don't even understand the principles. They go into other institutions of learning. Let's say they are medical doctors, professionals, they are lawyers, engineers, whatever. Now, question is, will you actually allow an architect to build your house who didn't really pass the architectural exam? No, that's what you tell me. But how will you know he didn't even pass? Will you allow a surgeon to operate upon you who didn't even pass his medical exam? Will you allow a lawyer who didn't graduate well to protect you in the law court? And what we fail to realize is that this system of corruption comes right back to hurt us in the long run. And so there must be a cutoff where a group of people, and this is all it takes, a group of people, a generation of people that say that, you know what, let us stick to the straight and narrow way. Let us do things right. And it's actually, usually when I do my HR sessions, I end with what I call a personal commitment. Will you go and continue what is happening, or you want to be the beginning of a change? You may not be applauded. You may never get a Nobel Prize. You may never be known. Your name may never come up. But I can tell you, you will stand for what you believe in, and generations after you will be better than you have met it. Some people have really, truly let us down, but that is just one side of the equation. You say that the only thing necessary for evil to perpetuate continuously is for good people to stand by and look on. And my hope is that as I teach this presentation and as we see, and as you see, oh, wow, if all that this man is saying is what is happening, oh, what glorious time it will be. However, it means you have been given the opportunity of what it should have been, because what you are seeing now is not what I'm describing. And together, in the next 10, 15, 20 years, currently we've trained over 400 of you, maybe more than that. Yearly graduates are in the thousands. By the time you take over the leadership of all the countries that you are represented in, you can imagine that Africa can breathe a sigh of relief. And I do hope and pray you guys will not let us down. You are our hope. Please don't let us down. Yes, our generation has not done the best, but please don't let other generations. That's why we are teaching these practices, and we're ensuring that you get to know them so that you become a part of the solution, not a part of the problem. Thank you. Okay, so thank you very much. Hello.
I still have one more question, please. Can I?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Please ask.
This from your sayings, I have something that have been triggering me. So it's like in between a fresh that just got his diploma in HR and somebody who has been working in an HR service for like 10 years experience, who have just been working there without any diploma. In between those two, who is best fit to have that post?
Okay. Thank you very much. I get this question all the time. So there is the heart of the human resource person, and there's the head knowledge of the human resource person. There are some people that have done banking and finance in school, but they've never worked in any bank. And there are people who have worked in banks, but never read banking and finance in the university or anywhere else. I hope you get the two difference. So the point I'm trying to make is this. We have people that have done HR for years, but in their hearts were just a job. And you can have someone who just came from the university, but a heart for standing for what is right, understanding the HR principles, and actually helping people become better versions of them. That is the mark of a true HR person. You help individuals become a better version of themselves. Granted, the 10 people have done it already. So you may have
this
a
meeting is
new
being recorded.
person who comes into the HR space with a lot more of drive and passion than someone who has been in there for years. But all said and done, the one that has got 10 years of experience, granted that they were taken through the right coaching, they work under the right people, and they understand what HR means, because part of HR lingers around law. Many HR people end up becoming lawyers or people who go into a legal profession because it's about the law of contract. You agree to hire me, I agree to do a job, you agree to pay me. And so when you come into the HR practice itself, you will find that there are different specializations in HR. Compensation, benefits, development, so a heart for the job. It may not be so. Does that answer your question?
Thank you very much.
You are very welcome, sir. Good. Moving right along so that we can catch on. And don't worry about the slide. You have the slides. And then, I'll move a bit more fast because we are moving into another segment now. And just keep those questions coming. And thanks for the interaction. If you had a question that you couldn't ask, please type it in. But thanks to you and thanks to Bridget and thanks to all of you for the interaction that we've had. Okay, so now let's proceed to the next one. And I hope my slides are still visible to you. Can you still see them?
Yes, we can see.
Awesome. So somewhere around 1983, the term strategic HR management was coined by Leonard Schlesinger, and he stated that the HR needs to get out of the people business and into the business of people. Now, I love things like that, a pun on words, a play on words. So before 1983, when we had this strategic HR definition, used to be personnel management, people management, it says that we need to leave away people business, not just about people, welfare, compensation, that's it. But go into the business of people. In other words, getting the business aspect, the management aspect, the profit and loss aspect of people. I hope you understand that. So that's when I started speaking about strategic human resource. What is the strategic role that human resource plays? Moving human resource from the back room into the boardroom to taking strategic decisions. And this term implies that human resource managers and other HR professionals need to be full players on the management team. Before this time, they were just at the back. The leaders would take the decisions and they'll say, go and see personnel for letters, go and see personnel for this. And many people became personnel managers and were just there as what administrators, keeping the records, knowing who is coming in, keeping the attendance and all of those things. Beyond 1983, we moved to now be in the boardroom making strategic decisions. Now, this also now vested more authority in HR directors or managers in the organization. And just for you to know that this battle is still ongoing is that find out, and this is just food for thought, how many HR directors end up becoming managing directors? and the number is very little. It should tell you that there's more room for improvement. The finance people are most likely to become managing directors. The auditors are most likely to become the operations people, because human resources are still being seen as not able to get the 360-degree view of the organization. And so if you are here and you have in mind to take this HR practice to the hilt, then know that we are not there yet until we are managing the entire organization. And that involves so many other things beyond just the human resources. Capital management, managing the board, corporate governance, managing customers, managing competitors, managing regulators, and all of that. That was just by the by. Now, strategic human resource management also accepts the HR manager or director as an integral part of the management team. People have had to fight boardroom wars to come to where we are. Do not take the HR practice for granted. It's come a very long way, and we are still fighting on. It is the managing director of the organization was hired by an HR manager, or at least his contract was put together by the HR manager. Even if the board does the appointment, it's the HR manager that eventually puts it through. So there is room for improvement. Strategic human resource management views the HR function as an integral part of all corporate functions or all of the organization's strategic planning processes. So from marketing, production, finance, legal, operations, HR is there. Why? Because in all these departments, people manage those departments. People work in those departments. People ensure delivery in those departments. Even in our current dispensation, where it's even just about ordering on an app and gets delivered, who does the delivery of the stuff? People. So you ordered food by Uber or Bolt or Glovo or whatever. Somebody will need to complete that logistics chain, and that's the people. So strategic human resource management involves the analysis of the key organizational objectives and so on and so forth. Now, in this, I intentionally skipped that slide. You just talk about the features. I want to get into some other technical HR stuff in the interest of time. So look at the relationship that is between organizational strategy and HR strategy. So in this first point, you find that organizational strategy is on the left and human strategy is on the right. There's what? Separation. So the HR function is looking at the HR manager, HR officers, HR staff, people, and the organizational strategy is that holy grail being held by the board, the managers, the big people, the strategic intent, want to go to Nigeria, want to go to Senegal, want to go to Rwanda. Those are the big things. In this initial slide, you find that it is not done. In this one, there must be a fit. The organizational strategy is what will draw the HR strategy from. Because we're saying, when going to Senegal, for example, what caliber of people do we need in Senegal to work for us? What qualification do they need to have? What experience do they need to have? What exposure do they need to have? What understanding do they need to have? Should we use locals or are we going to bring experts? All these are HR conversations. And then there is a dialogue between the organizational strategy and the HR strategy. Now, in many so-called organizations, this is missing. That's why we are teaching this. There must be a two-way dialogue between what the organization wants to achieve and what the HR function is doing. And then there is indeed a marriage of a sort, a holistic understanding that one strategic resource can make a quantum leap in the organizational strategy. At the same time, one wrong hire can actually bring down the entire organization. That is what it means. That when we do a holistic organizational HR strategy, we have a strong competitive advantage. If we miss this, it is difficult. And the organization is HR driven. So that brought in the concept of management retreats, away day sessions. We go and sit and plan, and then we bring all the players in the organization to that strategic meeting. Sometimes you have a speaker, somebody who come and maybe somebody from your regulator will come and talk about the future of the organization. Being public sectors, you have the government machinery person come from the Ministry of Finance, from the Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of whatever, to tell you government's focus, government's program, and how the various sectors of the economy are to be represented. And the HR people play a key role in there. If you are here and you are ever invited to sit on an interview panel, please help to select the right people for the right jobs. The key functions of the HR is job analysis, one of them. We do so many things in HR. In the interest of time, I'll just mention a few, and I'll give you the slides so you can go through. But the job analysis,
Thank you too. It was quite interesting.
Thank you.